At my daughter's school pickup, another parent asked, "Isn't it weird that your nanny drives a more expensive car than you do?" What expensive car? I stared at Lisa, another mom from Emma's kindergarten class, completely confused by her question. We were standing in the school pickup line when she nodded toward the parking lot where a sleek black BMW was pulling away. "That's your nanny Sarah, right?" she said casually. "I see her dropping off and picking up Emma all the time. Must be nice having a nanny who can afford a car that costs more than most people's annual salary." My stomach dropped as I realized Lisa was talking about my part-time babysitter who was supposed to be a struggling college student working for $15 an hour. I watched the BMW disappear around the corner, my mind racing as I tried to process what I'd just seen. Sarah had been watching Emma for 6 months, always arriving in what she claimed was her beat-up Honda Civic that was constantly in the shop. She'd told me countless stories about struggling to afford gas money and textbooks, which was why I'd been giving her extra cash for groceries and even helped pay for her car repairs twice. Now I was discovering that my supposedly broke college nanny was driving a luxury vehicle that cost more than my entire annual salary. Lisa continued her observations while I stood there in shock. She always parks in the back corner of the lot like she's trying to hide the car, but I noticed because my husband sells BMWs, and he pointed out that it's this year's model with all the premium upgrades. That's easily an $80,000 vehicle. I started thinking about all the times Sarah had asked for advances on her pay, borrowed money for emergencies, and even cried about not being able to afford her rent. Either she was running some kind of elaborate con game, or there was something much more serious going on. When I got home, I immediately called Sarah to confront her about the car, but her explanation made no sense. She claimed it belonged to her boyfriend who let her borrow it occasionally when her Honda was broken, but I'd been paying for her Uber rides to our house for weeks when she claimed to have no transportation. The story was falling apart quickly, and I demanded she come over immediately to explain the discrepancies. When Sarah arrived an hour later, she was driving the same expensive BMW, and her defensive attitude confirmed my suspicions that she'd been lying about everything. The truth came out when I threatened to call the police about potential fraud. Sarah broke down and admitted she wasn't actually a college student. She was a private investigator hired by my ex-husband to gather evidence about my parenting for an upcoming custody battle. The struggling student persona was completely fabricated to make me feel sorry for her and share personal information about my finances, work schedule, and relationships. She'd been documenting everything about my household routine, photographing my home, and reporting back to my ex-husband's legal team for months. I immediately called my attorney and filed complaints with the state licensing board for private investigators. Sarah had been operating without proper credentials and using deceptive practices that violated multiple laws. The investigation revealed that my ex-husband had paid her $3,000 per month to conduct illegal surveillance disguised as childcare, hoping to build a case that I was irresponsible with money and childcare decisions. Sarah lost her investigator license, my ex-husband faced sanctions for illegal surveillance, and I gained crucial evidence for the custody case. Sometimes the most important questions come from other parents who notice when expensive cars don't match the stories you've been told about struggling babysitters.